The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
They just keep saying, oh, it's a disproportionate percentage of a particular ethnic group.
It is.
That may be, but it's not a disproportionate percentage of those who witnesses and victims describe as committing the murder. In that case, incidentally, I think we disproportionately stop whites too much and minorities too little.
I read the article discussing these exact words from Michael Bloomberg, but there's something powerful about hearing their own voice and seeing them. There's a video that someone sent to me, username at UPMTN, UPMTN on Twitter sent that to me. And I'm telling you, there's something far more compelling about actually seeing this man say this with his own words, with his own mouth. Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. Today is Tuesday, February 20. What is this today? February 11th. How can I forget February 11th? New Hampshire primary day. Huge day. Polling data is out. We'll go over the polling data. But first, I have to circle back to the story that we talked about yesterday, Bloomberg's racist pass. We do understand, we most of us knew this. Anyone who spent any time in New York or had friends or family in New York, they understood this because they lived through this experience, right? But we never really had it in such a crystal clear packaged message directly from the horse's mouth. And that is Michael Bloomberg saying and giving his extremely troubling and extremely problematic racist justification for stop and frisk. We played the audio on the podcast yesterday morning. After the podcast, I left and really didn't think too much more of it because, I went and did a couple of hours in the rain recording video for this Bernie Sanders thing that we're going to release Thursday. And then it dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute. This is important. So I came back home, edited the video, cleaned up the audio because the original audio I found on YouTube, it's really, really bad. So we cleaned it up, put a transcript to it and shared it. And now it's at 2.5 million views on Twitter. And he's trending number one as Bloomberg is racist, which is hilarious because last night he also won the Dixville Knox, whatever. I'm sorry. I've been doing politics for a while, and that is a poll I've never heard of. The Dixville Notch poll. He won both the Republican and the Democratic category, which would have been a tremendous boost for him today. And as serendipity would have it, instead of being known for that this morning, trending at number one is Bloomberg is a racist. Now, there's quite a few people who are tweeting about Dixville Notch, but the one that's trending number one is Bloomberg is racist. And I think it's important, right? It's important for several reasons. Michael Bloomberg is trying to buy this election. Primarily, he's trying to buy it to stop Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren without a question. If he happens to win, that's a secondary prize. The first thing that he's preeminently concerned with is stopping the two politicians who are going to tax him. Elizabeth Warren, as we discussed yesterday, wants to tax him at a percentage that's going to cost him $3.56 billion next year. So if he invests $1 billion into this campaign, then and he manages to stop Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, then he saved $2.56 billion. And what do we call that? We call that a good investment. So first and foremost, he doesn't mind spending the money. He doesn't mind paying $350 million to this point, up until this point, on advertisements and on his staff in order to flood the airwaves with so many advertisements and commercials that he has started to get. He started to get a stronghold in the black community. He is targeting the black community to try to overcome his racist past. So $350 million has been invested, and I know the work is not done, and we have so much more to do, but damn it, if this little bitty podcast didn't put his ass on his heels for free. Free 99. All right, that's all I got to say about that. Keep pushing the video, keep pushing the audio, because he has to be held accountable, not only for all the people. Think about all the thousands upon hundreds of thousands of people who suffered underneath his racist regime in New York. But now think about all of the people who will suffer underneath his oligarchical regime as president of the United States. So I have no problem whatsoever making it clear that we must absolutely stop Michael Bloomberg at all costs, because he is buying our democracy and he has a racist, classist, and transphobic past. That's all I'm going to say about it. Let's move on. Yeah. I wanted to be done with this, but someone just dropped something on me that, let me just read it for you. It's from Noah Rothman. He is an associate editor at Commentary and MSNBC, NBC News contributor. And this is what he said on Twitter yesterday. He said, quote, Mike Bloomberg getting 22% support among black Democrats in Quinnipiac's latest national poll, just behind Biden's 27%, is a phenomenon the progressive commentary class is entirely incapable of comprehending. Houseway. Huh? He went on to say this. For whom the entirety of his urban legacy is stop and frisk, this is an anathema. But at least according to Pew, March 2019, African Americans cited violent crime and racism as comparably pressing issues facing the country. Bloomberg's ads have been mostly about gun crime. Let's take a step back to the first tweet. That we can't comprehend the fact that he is at 22% amongst African Americans when you consider his legacy is stop and frisk. No, we have a complete and total comprehension of this, which is why I'm coming back to the conversation instead of moving on. It's not a question about who Michael Bloomberg is. It's a question about who has the most money to show who Michael Bloomberg is. Michael Bloomberg has spent $350 million since he's entered the campaign, flooded the airwaves with nothing but flattering and flowery advertisements to show everybody just how good he is. And as we all know, people who are not locked in to the analyses and to the commentary and to the conversations, they can be persuaded by these ads instead of, when they instantly hear it, say, oh, hell no, this is not the stop and frisk motherfucker from New York. Right? They're too busy going about their lives. They're too busy trying to make sure that they can pay for their medication, or are they going to pay for rent this month? Am I going to take my diabetes medication, or am I going to eat some fucking food? People are too engaged in simple survival to actually be able to parse all of the bullshit that surrounds us. And so this commentary of, oh, progressive commentators can't comprehend. No. We understand precisely what's going on. And the only question is what's going to win, the people or the money? Michael Bloomberg has the money. We have the people. Michael Bloomberg has the airwaves. We have social media. And so it is well, not literally, but figuratively, a battle between David and Goliath. It is a battle between the haves and the have-nots. Those of us who are standing on nothing but principle, fighting against people who have no principles, or the principles that they stand on are antithetical to everything we believe in. We don't understand. We understand the power of manufacturing consent. We understand the power of the media narrative. I understand now as we speak why it is that the Dixville Notch poll is now trending above Bloomberg as a racist. Bloomberg as a racist is still there, but there's vested in. Michael Bloomberg is buying influencers for $150 a pop. How many people do you think he can purchase being worth $60 billion? The fact is that we are in the fight for our democracy against the oligarch class. And as much disdain as I have for Pete Buttigieg's disingenuousness, when you look at what Michael Bloomberg is trying to do to this country, all hands on deck. Progressive Army, mount up. Yeah. All right. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. You're getting like 3 segments before we even get to the patron party. That's because I have to take this Bloomberg stuff in moderation. Let's talk about the new Quinnipiac poll. Bernie Sanders is at 25%. He's leading. He's topping the Democratic primary race outright for the first time, I believe. I think the last time he was in the margin of error from Joe Biden, but Joe Biden has dropped precipitously. He is now at 17%. Michael Bloomberg has shot up to 15%. Elizabeth Warren at 14%. Pete Buttigieg is at 10%. Not looking good for Pete. Amy Klobuchar, we all knew that she... Listen, well, before I finish that sentence, we all assumed that Amy Klobuchar wasn't going to do good, but I think the way the pieces have been shuffled, if this Michael Bloomberg story sticks, Amy Klobuchar is going to be the beneficiary of both Pete Buttigieg support as well as Bloomberg support. So I won't count her out just yet. It is a damning testament to American politics that Michael Bloomberg could shoot up to 15%, right? Obviously, he's trying to position himself. This is the most important thing. This is the most important thing that we can do at this juncture, because we are literally fighting to save democracy. We're literally trying to fight off an oligarch from seizing control of the only party that ostensibly stands in opposition to the oligarchs who are currently in control. And I know that sentence that I just said probably might be bullshit, because the Democratic Party is led by oligarchs, which is why he's able to get this far in the party in the first place. But it is the only mechanism that we have that stands a chance. The Democratic Party machine is the only mechanism that we have that stands a chance of fighting back against the oligarch class, because the infrastructure is in place, meaning that we don't have the time to build a third party to fight back against this monstrosity that is Michael Bloomberg's billions of dollars. All we have is social media, some influencers who really believe in what the hell we're doing, and we have the Democratic machine that we can push one of these candidates through. And obviously, I'm pushing Bernie Sanders. All right. Patron party coming up.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
And here we go. Very special welcome to all of our newest patrons. Shout out to Aaron B. Sorry, Aaron, I can't pronounce your last name. Well, thank you for becoming a patron. Very special welcome. Our very special thank you to Jesse for increasing your pledge. Very special welcome to Norman Walker for becoming a patron. Very special welcome to Mike Ellison for becoming a patron. Very special thank you to Lisa Eugene for becoming a patron. Very special welcome to Dylan Winslow for becoming a patron. John Oxford, I see you. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. Immortal Sin, thank you so much for becoming a patron. Amazing name. Very special thank you to Ryan Walker for becoming a patron. Very special thank you to Te Jimenez. I think that's what we're pronouncing it as. Thank you for becoming a patron. And very special thank you to Sarah Covington for becoming a patron. You too can get access to the full hour show along with ad-free content, and join this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show. Let me shut up and just let you bop for a few seconds. All right. I see you bopping in the car. I see you nodding your head in the car. Don't think I don't see you. All right. Now, I sincerely did not want today's episode to be 100% about Michael Bloomberg. But there's another phenomenon that's happening underneath this conversation, which is revealing itself through everyone who's tweeting at us about this story. I've seen not a whole lot of people, but I've seen enough for it to be disturbing. In fact, it actually started with my mother. Being their initial reaction is that they are upset that we are showing this content, that we're showing this side of Michael Bloomberg, because they believe that he is our best bet to beat Donald Trump. Yesterday, we discussed that there are people, power players in the Democratic establishment who are playing on those fears, because we all knew before. Look, let me tell you something. Before we even dropped that audio yesterday, we all knew one thing about Michael Bloomberg, that he would not receive any support from the left, not the progressive base. There is absolutely no way in God's green earth or Satan's hot hell that we would get out of the bed to go support an oligarch who purchased his way into the election. And the party players know this. So simultaneously, they are preying and they're manipulating on the fears that boomers have of Donald Trump by saying, here, Michael Bloomberg is the guy to fix it. In reality, they know Bloomberg is going to lose, but they are willing to lose. They are more willing to lose with Michael Bloomberg than they are to win with Bernie Sanders or hell, even Elizabeth Warren. That's the reality of this. And so what you're seeing on social media, what I'm seeing, I don't know what you're seeing, but what I'm seeing are so many people trying to make excuses for Michael Bloomberg because in their brains, they have been, the consent has been manufactured and they believe that Michael Bloomberg is the person to beat Donald Trump. And so they're furious about this. They're dismissing the fact that this is cold, calculated racism, unapologetic. In fact, he's proud of it. This is not a mistake. He didn't say this as a mistake. He said this very directly and very matter of factly as so, to show us his worldview, his paradigm, his framework, how he thinks, how he operates. And I played the audio at the top of today's show showing that he thinks that white people were disproportionately stopped too often. This is not a mistake. This is not a misstep. This is not misspeaking. This is 100% who Michael Bloomberg is, and he is proud of it. And you all are willing to sacrifice the black, the brown people, the young men, the teenagers who are being thrown up against the wall in New York right now because of the culture that Michael Bloomberg created. You're willing to sacrifice them for the chance of losing to Trump because you're not going to win with Michael Bloomberg. I don't care how much money he spends. He is not going to win this race. We are not turning our democracy over to a person who has See, at least Donald Trump. Yeah, I'm about to say a sentence that starts with at least Donald Trump. At least Donald Trump seized the Republican Party. He used his money and communicated in a language that the base loved, and he seized the party. Michael Bloomberg is coming in to spend his money to fracture the party just so that he doesn't personally have to pay the goddamn wealth tax. That's all his campaign is about. And so I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate about this because I've been saying all year long, or last year, going into this year, I've been saying repeatedly that we have an opportunity to do something amazing in this country. And the only way they can stop us is by suspending democracy. And lo and fucking behold, what are they trying to do? They are trying to seize democracy. They're trying to suspend democracy by turning it over to an oligarchical, classist, racist, transphobic bastard who's only in this to protect his wealth. And yes, it's easy to convince. It's easy to convince our parents that if Biden can't do it, then Bloomberg can. You put enough ads on black radio, you can convince them. And this is why it's the fight. It's the fight of, right now, honestly, it's a fight of our lives. It may seem dramatic, but when you consider that all we have is what we fight for in this democracy, what's more important? What's more important than us stopping this man from seizing power? There will be nothing left for the working people of this country. Nothing. It's already a shit show in terms of the Democratic Party and the Democratic establishment moving so far to the right that they're indistinguishable on economic policies from the Republican Party. It's already depressing to know that we're dealing with a Democratic Party that has left the working class behind 40 years ago. And we only have the residual. We only have the hope and the aspiration and the dreams that we could do something for working people across this country. But if you turn this party over to Michael Bloomberg, then we will have absolutely nothing left but to take to the streets. And if that's what you force on us, then we will be happy to oblige.
going to have to reform the entire system. I am not a fan of, let's be clear, I'm not a fan of the current campaign finance system. And the reality is, it's not going to get better in all of the ways we need it to get better without a constitutional reform. So there are things we can and should do right away that can deal with black money, dark money, African American money. I'm always happy to take black money contributions in my campaign.
I don't have anything to say about that, man. Look, can I just tell you the truth? Man, it's a matter of comparison. It's a matter of degrees. I mean, after the reality of Michael Bloomberg seizing control of everything, I'm back, and the fact that we heard the audio yesterday of Pete Buttigieg with a genuine class critique. I actually don't have as much rage towards Pete Buttigieg this week. Now, don't get me wrong. He's going to say something that is going to be genuinely disingenuous, and then we're going to have to rip him a new one. But as it stands today, he's just our comic relief. Okay. The next part of this is, I mean, honestly, there's nothing else to talk about. I'm doing my damn best to not just make today's show about Michael Bloomberg for obvious reasons, right? I'd like to think that I can just pack up and move on to the next story, but it's trending pretty hard right now. We're at 2.8 million views, and Michael Bloomberg has not said anything on his timeline in the last 10 hours. But here's the next phase of this, because listen, all hands on deck, because here's why. Let me tell you why. Because he has been purchasing support all across the country, particularly in the black community. And yesterday I hesitated on calling out all of the people that have been supporting him, right? Who have endorsed him. But we have to do it. And I'm going to do it more specifically on Twitter. But Stacey Abrams has not endorsed him, to be sure. She just took some money that is going to be used for a really good cause, right? Her Fair Fight initiative here in Georgia to make sure that everyone gets a chance to vote and register and not be purged. But she took $5 million from him. And you know, one thing is true. Behind the scenes, that means that she won't endorse anybody else, number one. Number two, that means that she'll never say a negative word about Michael Bloomberg. In my estimation, she could surprise me. It could be a complete surprise. But we have to start calling out the people who are either silent or complicit or endorsing, right? Bobby Rush. I have nothing but respect for Representative Bobby Rush. Like, I mean, for real. But he has endorsed Michael Bloomberg. And that's a problem when you consider everything. Listen, we knew these things about Michael Bloomberg, but like I said, it's something about hearing it in their own voice, in their own words. It's something about that makes the difference, right? And so now where's Bobby Rush on this? Frank Scott, Mayor Frank Scott, who is the mayor of Little Rock, Arkansas. He has come out and endorsed Michael Bloomberg. And I want to know, Frank Scott on Twitter at Frank Scott Jr. Are you still supporting this man? How can you support this man? Right. And if you do, then come out and say boldly why you support this man. There's so many other mayors. He has this mayor initiative that he took people to Harvard and he wined and dined them and he, invested in their projects in their city. And now all these mayors are coming back to support and to endorse Michael Bloomberg. So it's imperative upon us, because here's the deal. This is a David versus Goliath thing. And the crazy thing about this, excuse me, forgive the ableist language. The ridiculous thing about this is the fact that there are millions of us and one of him. I got to go country on y'all for a second. Y'all, do you understand that there are literally millions of us who see the unique danger that Michael Bloomberg poses to our democracy? And it's almost like we can't do anything about it but band together and chip away at this monstrosity. That's too much power for one man to have. His ability to purchase our democracy. And so at this point, if we can't get him, we have to ask all these people who are now complicit with them, who are now in bed with them, who have endorsed them. We need to ask them, every mayor by mayor, charity by charity. Every single one of them need to be held accountable for supporting someone who is this patently racist. I showed video of him being patently classist, being transphobic, and most of all, He's only in this to save his bottom line. It's up to us, every single one of you. If you don't do it, it won't be done. Let's fight. Last but not least, for this portion of the show, if you are a patron, continue listening after our closing music. There's an entire another 30 minutes or so that will be for patrons. If you want to get access to that, as well as ad-free content, go to patreon.com/the BPD show. I have to make shameless plugs because I'm not an oligarch, and I'm, there's nobody but me, my microphone, and you, the supporters. But last but not least, I wasn't going to discuss Dr. Jason Johnson from MSNBC because, I don't want people to think I'm getting cheap clicks off the brother. Well, he thinks I'm getting cheap clicks off of him. And the only reason I'm discussing him at all is not to go after him, but to discuss his unfortunate position, right? His argument with regard to the stop and frisk audio that we released. He is saying that it is a testament to how poorly all the other candidates are doing with black people. I shit you not. This is what he said on Twitter. He said, quote, "This Bloomberg stop and frisk audio from Aspen reinforces my point. How bad have Bernie, Pete, Warren, and Biden performed that black voters are considering switching in droves to Bloomberg? They've nobody to blame but themselves." And he made a similar argument on MSNBC last night. And the only reason I bring this up is not to attack him, but to attack his argument, right? Because this is the most disingenuous take. With all due respect, Jason, nothing but love for you from one black man to another, from one bald black man who wears glasses and has a beard to another. Stop this madness. Stop this. Stop it. Get help. Because you cannot finagle your way into supporting Michael Bloomberg. It's some indirect, tacit support from Michael Bloomberg saying that Michael Bloomberg is so bad, but that means everyone else must be horrible. First of all, this is, again, nothing but manufacturing consent by pouring hundreds of millions to the tune of $350 million into ad buys that's targeting the black community. Overwhelmingly. This is why he's doing it. He's doing it for Super Tuesday. He's doing it to take a chunk out of the Super Tuesday wins for Bernie Sanders, who otherwise would have a clean sweep. Bernie Sanders has an abundance of black support when you look in the millennial age bracket and down, right? So, but you know this, and listen, I don't want to impugn your character here, but you are a professor who understands rigorous debates and rigorous arguments, structured arguments. You cannot tell me that you don't see the fallaciousness of your arguments. You can't tell me that. And I'm not going to venture off into conspiracy theories, but I have to ask the question why you continuously persist on supporting Michael Bloomberg indirectly by using these ridiculously crafted arguments that are making you the laughing stock of the intelligentsia. I mean, nobody is, well, apparently like 2,400 people take you seriously because they like that tweet. But man, I don't know, man. I'm not even going to say anything else because I'm not going to suggest that you're being paid by Michael Bloomberg. I'm not going to suggest that. I'm just really curious if your disdain for Bernie Sanders is that deep that you are willing to contort yourself into mental contortions that are like Olympian level. Anyway, moving on. Not sure what stories are going to come up in the after show and the full show for the patrons, but I'm quite confident it's going to involve a lot of profanity because this story, this thing with Bloomberg really intersects at so many problematic junctures. You have classism, you have racism, you have bigotry all around, you have a warmonger, a former conservative, and an oligarch spending his millions, his billions in order to win an election. And if I were to just give you that description, who would you think of? You'd obviously think of Donald Trump. Well, in reality, it's not Donald Trump. It's Michael Bloomberg. Patrons, I'll see you in a few moments. For the rest of you who are not patrons, thank you so much for joining me. You can check us out anytime. You know what time, you know what place. I'll see you tomorrow.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.